Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph, and today we're going to be chatting about what qualifies as good disability rep, quote unquote, good or decent disability rep. So I have opinions about this, but I will tell you I am not an expert on disability representation. I am not speaking from anything other than my own experiences and my own opinions. I'm not an expert. I am not an official capacity anything on this topic, but I like to think that I have an interest in reading diverse stories about characters who may or may not have a disability. I've gone out of my way to find and read a lot of books with disabled characters of all different disabilities, and I will continue to do so. And there are some trends that I love, and there are some trends that I don't love. So I thought I'd make this video not to bash anything that I don't like, but just to highlight themes that I really enjoy. And I'd love for this to spark a conversation in the comments if you have any other things to add to this list. Be sure to like this video if you like this topic, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this from me. Without further ado, let's get to number one on the 5 things on this list that make good quality disability representation. I'm specifically talking about books, but of course this can be accessible to movies or TV or anything else. Again, not an expert, for just speaking generally from my own opinion and experiences. Number 1, a character is not defined by their disability. For example, I read a book that was fantastic. It is one of my favorite books of all time, and the main female character goes through a lot of struggle, a lot of growth, because people around her in her family tend to make her feel childish and small because of her disability and the way they dote on her. It's really funny because I read the story, absolutely loved it, didn't realize until after the story, oh hey, this is technically disability representation. That's how good it was. It wasn't about the disability and how it affects the person. It was the person going through her life just happened to have a disability, and it was so good. That book, for anyone who's curious, is Friends and Foes by Sarah Eden. Now that I know that she likes to write stuff with disabilities, I pick up on it, but honestly, I read through several of her books that happen to have disability rep and didn't even think about it. It was just part of the story. It wasn't anything that jumped out to me. So I could rave about her writings, but I'm gonna keep going on. Number 2, the disabled character can be the main character of the story. They do not have to be just a supporting character. This is not taking away from any story that happens to have a supporting character with a disability. Sometimes I read series where a side character has a disability, and then further along in the series, they get a turn at being the main character. It's just nice when you get to see, hey, a disabled character could be the main character, and they can have other stuff going on in their life besides their disability. Number 3, I see this mentioned sometimes on social media, and I think this is worth pointing out that it's really great when we see disabled characters who don't have to be fixed or cured before they can have their happily ever after. Sometimes we see temporary disabilities kick in, like a temporary blindness or hearing loss based off of some event, and they can only achieve their happily ever after once it comes back at the end of the story. And I always find those to be just a teensy bit of a letdown, not because the whole story is a letdown, but I'm like, hey, we can still learn to function and be happy and live great lives even if we're dealing with disabilities. It doesn't mean that we can't be happy if we have a disability. So I'm not a writer, I'm not a storyteller, but these are just my general thoughts on consuming stories with disabilities. So take it with a grain of salt. Number 4, the disabled character doesn't need to just be the disabled character, and not just as a way to create pity from the reader or the main characters, and also not just existing in the story to teach the main character a lesson. We can have a little bit more development and participation from the disabled character as a part of this cast and be a beautiful contribution to the story in whatever capacity or role that they have in the overall arc of the story. Again, I feel like this is obvious, but it's not always something we see. I do notice that this is existing more and more in a positive way on the page, but it's also really nice to be like, hey, authors, we like seeing this kind of content, and feel free to include this in your book. And I think that's just something important to point out and important to generate discussions about. Last but not least, number 5, disabled characters can do anything that able-bodied characters can do in stories. So maybe it might look a little different, but they can still have excitement, setbacks, challenges. They can still have happily ever afters at the end of their stories. So disabled characters can still go on adventures and journeys, and it just looks a little bit different, and it just takes a little bit of creativity sometimes on the part of the author in order to take the readers on that whirlwind adventure or whatever capacity of story they're telling. But the disabled characters can absolutely be just as much a part of that as able-bodied characters can. So those are the kind of stories I enjoy and the kind of stories that I want to continue to pursue and discover as time goes on and more books are published. So if you have any favorites that kind of fit these parameters, definitely comment that as well. So I'm sure lots of us would love to find more books like that with different representation. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more fun content from me. And I am no expert on disability rep, but I do know what I have enjoyed and appreciated as I have continued to pursue more disabled representation in the books that I read. So I hope you like this video, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!